Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jini, and in today's video I'll be guiding you through all of the available Tamagotchi models as of today, which of course can vary depending on your location. And by the end of this video I hope that you'll know what kind of Tamagotchi you want to get. So without further ado, let's get started. So in total, I'll be talking about 7 models that are currently still available, more or less, which are the Tamagotchi Generation 1 and 2, the Tamagotchi Angel, the Tamagotchi Connection, the Tamagotchi Nano, the Tamagotchi Pix and Pix Party, and the newest release, the Tamagotchi Paradise. So these are all the models I'll be talking about that I'll be comparing with each other by talking about a few key aspects I find are the most important. Obviously, there are a lot more models than the ones I just showed you, but they are rather hard to come by because the production of these models has been shut off like years ago. But these all are, I'd say, rather recent releases and should be available more or less. Let's start with the OG, which is the Tamagotchi Generation 1 and 2. This is a remake of the very original one that came out in 1996. Out of all of the Tamagotchi, I think this one probably has one of the simplest gameplays. The features that this Tamagotchi has are feeding, playing, scolding, and of course cleaning poop. So this goes back to the very nostalgic, simple gameplay from the 2000s. There is the Generation 1 and the Generation 2. This is a Generation 2, and you can recognize that by looking at the background of the Tamagotchi. All the Generation 2s have like a swirly background, and the Generation 1s have this checkered background. The only difference between both of these Tamas are the shell options. So each generation has its respective shell options, and the minigame is different, and I also think that the characters are different. What I've noticed is that the minigame on the Generation 2, which is this one, is a lot easier than on the Generation 1 because the Generation 1 game is purely based on luck, whereas the game here you have like slightly better chances to win in my opinion. And the price for a Generation 1 and 2 varies between 20 to 30 euros. There is no connection feature, and the device itself is very small and portable, as you can see. And as for neediness, I found it to be very needy, especially in the baby stage. Later it gets better, but as far as I know, it's still considered to be quite needy. The key features of this Tamagotchi are its simplicity and just the retro vibes you feel, because obviously it's a black and white screen and there are just so many shell options. I think there's something for everyone, and I think it also makes a great gift. I'd say this Tamagotchi is for anyone who wants a very simple gameplay and who just maybe wants to dip its toes into the Tamagotchi realms and doesn't want to commit too much, especially financially. They're still being released and they're quite easy to find. Now let's move on to the Tamagotchi Angel. This is also a remake of the original one that came out in, I think, 1998. They also have come up with a bunch of different shell options and they're still being released, so this should be widely available. And as far as for the price, I do think they're a little bit more expensive than the Generation 1 and 2. Generally, I was able to find them between 25 and 30 euros. There's no connection feature. It's also very portable. For anyone who wants to know, they are actually the same size. And I've also found this to be quite needy at the beginning, but afterwards it gets a lot better. And I think the minigame is very easy to win, so it's easy to keep your Tama happy, which is a big plus for me personally. I found it to be less needy than the Generation 1 and Generation 2. I do feel like it has forgiving care requirements, and there are a bunch of fun characters. I will link the growth chart in the description. In the world of Tamagotchi, when a Tama passes, it either becomes a devil or an angel, and this is the angel version, so you basically take care of Tamas that have passed. I really hope they will release a devil in the future, and they are so expensive now, but so far I also really love the angel one. The characters are adorable. I'd say the key features are of course the angel characters and the forgiving care requirements. I think that's for anyone who does have a Generation 1 or 2 or is eyeing a Generation 1 and 2 but does want to have like a little fun twist on it with the angel characters and the more relaxed care. Now we move on to one of my favorite releases ever, and that is the Connection version 3 re-release. They also released back in, I think, 2007. This was like the version I first had when I was a child. I had the ice cream one, and I do have the re-release of the ice cream as well. And yeah, what can I say? I just grew up with this version, so of course I connected with so many nostalgic moments and memories. This has like a special place in my heart. If you also grew up with Tamagotchi, do comment down below which one you grew up with. So this one is still widely available, so you shouldn't have any problems getting this one. And I also feel like this again is a leveled up version of this one, because first it introduces the connection feature, hence the name Connection, and the price is slightly higher than the Angel and Generation 1 and 2. I found this to be in between like 25 to 40 euros. It's actually so much fun. You can visit, you can play games, and you can also give gifts. And in terms of the portability, it is a little bit bigger than the Angel. Here a little comparison. But I still think it's quite portable. For some reason, I found this one to be a lot more needy than the Angel and the Generation 1 and 2. I only managed once to get Mamechi, which is the best care character. I had to pause this Tamagotchi like a bunch of times. So the key features are definitely the connection feature, as well as a bunch of new characters and a lot more mini games. So on the Angel and the Generation 1 and 2, you only have one minigame that you can play, but this features a bunch of new minigames. And this I'd recommend for anyone who wants the connection feature but still want to get this old school feeling, because you do still have the black and white screen. Now let's move on to the Tamagotchi Nano. I have the Spy family one here, but they have so many collaborations. The latest releases were probably the Jurassic World Nano and the Star Wars Darth Vader Nano, and they just announced a blue lock color Nano Tamagotchi. I really want to get it, but the color screen Nanos are just so hard to get. They really do have a lot of collaborations. There's even like an Eevee one. They also have a Hatsune Miku collaboration, Toy Story, Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer, One Piece, and I think they also just announced a My Melody and Kuromi Tamagotchi Nano collaboration, so that will be exciting as well. So as you can see, this is the Tamagotchi Bandai goes for when they are trying to collaborate with other franchises. These are normally not very expensive. I think this one I got for like 10 euros. They're still widely available depending on which one you want to get, of course, and where you live. And I think the price varies between like 10 and 30 something euros. Their gameplay is very simple and minimalistic. They do not have a connection feature, and it's extremely small. So this is compared to the Tamagotchi Connection re-release version 3 and compared to the Angel. I don't think it is needy at all. Their evolution line is a little bit different because they have so many collaborations with so many franchises. I'll try to link a descriptive growth chart in the description box for the Spy family one. And the key features I'd say is the very stripped down gameplay. But what I think is quite nice is you do get cutscenes. I'll show you guys a cutscene I saw. Yeah, I think that's quite fun. So for anyone who's like a fan of an anime and wants to combine this with your Tamagotchi hobby, I think this is perfect. So one of the key features is definitely that you have so many collaborations, hence you have a lot of characters you can raise on it. And what I also love is most of them do not feature the Tamagotchi who will take on a few features of the characters from the featured franchise, but they are the characters themselves. Here, for example, I am raising Anya from Spy Family, which I think is so cute. That's why I got it in the first place. And I'd recommend this one for anyone who's really busy and really cannot afford a lot of time for the Tama, not even for the Tamagotchi Angel. I'd also recommend it to anyone who wants an extremely small and portable version of all the other Tamagotchis, because I think this is the smallest one you can get as of now. And of course, for anyone who is looking for special collaborations Tamagotchi, I do have a bunch of them. One I'd love to have is the Eevee Tamagotchi Nano, but it's too expensive, so I'll have to pass on that for now. For all of the versions I just showed you now, they don't have a dedicated pause function, but you can go to the clock menu and pause the clock, and that way you can pause your Tamagotchi. That's like a workaround that has been working for many years. Now we move on to the color screen Tamagotchis, and I'll start out with the first one, which is the Tamagotchi Pix Party. There's also the Tamagotchi Pix, that's the previous version. They are more or less available. I've read a lot that people are having difficulties getting it because it's been offered now for like $100 and plus. But do not pay $100 for this model, trust me. The original price is around 50 to 60 euros, so similar to the Tamagotchi Paradise. And I would not pay more than 50 to 60 euros for a new one. I think they have gone out of production, and I've seen them on the German Amazon for like 60 to 80 euros, so it is very expensive. So you'd probably have to look on the secondhand market. If you're thinking about buying it secondhand, do pay attention to the prices. You don't want to overpay. It does have a connection feature, and the way it works is via QR codes. So there are even like whole threads where people post their QR codes, and then you can have a party with them, which is, I think, very nice. For example, I'll be posting my QR code on Facebook, on Instagram, or on Reddit, and people will use the QR code to visit me, but I'll not get a notification on my Tamagotchi Pix Party because it does not function via Wi-Fi, so it does not have a Wi-Fi connectivity. And as far as for the portability, it is very big here. The Nano looks tiny in comparison to the Pix Party, as you can see. It still sits quite comfortably and nice in the hands, but just to show you guys a few comparisons and with the connection. And of course, one of the key features is the camera here at the back, and this is the shutter. I personally think that's such a fun feature. I've used it to take a few pictures. The camera isn't good by any means. I got it like a few years ago, and sometimes I look back at the photos and it just looks so retro to me, even though I've just taken them a few years ago. This is the first model to be featuring a babysitter, I think. All of the other black and white screen Tamagotchi, they do not have a babysitter option because otherwise you probably wouldn't be able to pause it. And another feature is that it has touch buttons. As you can see, they do not have physical buttons anymore. They work more or less, but I found for some mini games they also require you to use the touch buttons. I think it's sometimes hard to like get it on time, but with time you'll get the hang out of it. And the difference between the Tamagotchi Pix and Pix Party is the Party released later, and I do feel like the touch buttons have improved, and there are new mini games. As the name indicates, on the Pix Party you can make parties with your friends. In general, I probably recommend the Pix Party over the normal Pix because of the better touch buttons and the party feature. I think the party feature is very cute. Features are generally the same. I switch out maybe one character or so, if I'm not mistaken. And I do think it's quite needy. Again, like every Tamagotchi in its baby stage is quite needy. As soon as they grow up, it gets more relaxed. For this one, I didn't find it to be super needy. The minigames switch every day, I think. And another very fun feature is that your Tama can get a job on the Pix Party. I really think that one of the key features is, of course, the camera function, the touch buttons, and the party, and being able to pet your Tama. It really focuses on building a close relationship with your Tama, which I think is so cute. That's also why this has been one of my favorite versions for a very long time. So the jobs, I think, is a key feature. I'd recommend this one to anyone who wants a color screen Tamagotchi that wants to have like a very personal bond with the Tama because you can pet it. Its focus is really on raising your Tama, nurturing it and taking care of it, and even raising it to the stage where it has a job. So their focus is really on building the relationship with your Tama, which I think is very endearing. Let's come to one of the newest releases. This is the Tamagotchi Uni. As far as for availability, Germany, it's still widely available. You can buy it for between 50 to 60 euros. This is the first Tamagotchi to feature a Wi-Fi connectivity. This is also one of like the key features, I think. In terms of size, it is a lot smaller than the Pix and the Pix Party, as you can see. So it's very pocketable, and they come back with physical buttons, as you can see. There's also the Tamagotchi Smart that released before this one released, but it's only in Japanese. It's hard to find this one. There's also a babysitter option, and I do not find the Tamagotchi Uni to be needy at all, especially compared to all of the other releases. So this Tamagotchi version really focuses on the individuality and accessorizing your Tama. Just like the name kind of implies, like being unique with your Tama, because there are so many accessories. My storage is already full and I cannot store them all, which is kind of frustrating. There are also a bunch of Tamaverse tickets. There are like kind of small DLCs that give you new characters, accessories, food items, and furniture. In terms of content, I think it offers the most content. For some reason, I didn't really get warm with it when it first released, just a few weeks ago. I really fell in love with it, probably because it's so different and so modern compared to all of the other releases. There's also the Tama Arena, where you get to play games like I think every month, and there are also some special prizes you can win, and you play with people all around the world. I just think this Tamagotchi is like so much fun. For being so small, it has a lot of content. So this Tamagotchi I'd recommend to anyone who wants the most features and also Wi-Fi connectivity, as well as like being able to accessorize your character a lot, because this is definitely the most expandable device that you can get. And now we come to the latest release, which is the Tamagotchi Paradise. Of course, being the newest release, this is widely available. I have heard like about a lot of delay issues, but even with delivery issues, this one is probably the easiest to get, along with the Generation 1, 2 releases. And you can find this for around 60 euros. There's only a in-person connection feature. You just get it out and then you can connect to Tamagotchis. I've made like 2 very thorough videos about this Tamagotchi that I will link here. There's no Wi-Fi connectivity, so they took that one out from the Uni. And in terms of portability, this one is very big. I took off the cases to show you guys the comparison a little better. So it's definitely a big device, but I like it. Also with batteries in there, it feels quite nice in the hands, you know? There's also a babysitter function, and it is not needy at all, in my opinion. Just same as the Tamagotchi Uni. I think the Uni is a little bit more needy than the Paradise. One key feature is definitely the dial here on the side that you can use to zoom in on different levels, like this level, then the closer level, and then the cellular level. Another great feature is you can now see your care mistakes. My Tama is not happy at the moment, as you can see. You can really monitor the care mistakes and just the evolution line your Tamagotchi will probably go. Another key feature is, of course, also the way it connects with other Tamas. Also, with this Tamagotchi, they brought back the gene mixing. This is a feature that they had for like the older versions of the Mix and the Meets Tamagotchi. You can only get like different eye genes and skin color genes, I think, from the parents. So it is quite limited, but I still think it's like a very fun feature, because I have gotten very funny characters that way. And also like the poop collector. The poop of your Tama will be collected and then you can like travel to other planets. I think that's so funny. You know, I love Tamagotchi for features like these. And it features a bunch of mini games with different like difficulty levels, something I've never seen before in any Tamagotchi. And also you can level up your planet, which is just a lot of fun. So I think this device is probably one of my favorite devices ever, and I'd recommend this one to anyone who wants a fairly simple gameplay. It kind of feels like stripped down, because once it's an adult, you don't really have to take a lot of care of it, but it still has like some modern features like the gene mixing and the color screen, of course, and also the very elaborate like gaming menu. And I'll also try to link all the crochet cases I can find for the Tamagotchis in the description box. And by the way, guys, the amazing creator of the crochet case for the Paradise has updated her or his pattern. I will link the updated version in the description box, and it should be easier to follow. So in summary, there are just so many versions. I didn't even touch on the vintage ones that you can still get, but like only secondhand. But I wanted to keep it simple and to like limit it to the Tamagotchi models you can still quite easily get. Yeah, I hope that this video was helpful. Comment down below which Tamagotchi you are having your eyes on. What I'd also be interested in is knowing what kind of feature you think is the most fun on a Tamagotchi. Oh, I can't even say for me. I just love like taking care of them. What I think is the most fun is probably the petting function. I really like being able to pet my Tamagotchi. But as of now, I'm very happy. They are just also different. They feature different characters, different like care systems, and different rooms, different mini games, and they're just so different. Even the sounds are all different. So the color screens I definitely love for their modern touch, for the forgiving care requirements, but I also do like the re-releases of the vintage Tamas for their simplicity and just for the nostalgic charm. One thing to keep in mind is that the black and white screen Tamagotchis are sometimes hard to see. You do definitely have an advantage if you have like a color screen Tama, that you can even like sometimes adjust the brightness. So I think that's it. That's a long video, but I hope that you guys liked it. Feel free to leave your questions in the comments if you have any. And other than that, I wish you a beautiful weekend and hope to see you soon. Bye!